Bit about me. So I currently live in Utah, US, a couple of miles south of Salt Lake City. I was raised in Texas my entire life. I just recently moved out to Utah. I graduated from Texas A&M University in Texas with a bachelor's degree in political science. After I graduated, I spent a couple of years in the grocery industry as a store manager. Then I got burned out and I wasn't really feeling fulfilled in my career there. And so a friend of mine reached out to me and asked if I was willing to try out the corporate world. And so never tried it before. I really had no idea how to analyze information, analyze data. But I did what I could, taught myself as much as I could about data analytics, and ended up getting the job. And that was probably at the most pivotal point in my life. Until then, I was, unfulfilled in my job. I was unhappy, and I'm just glad to find my career that I enjoy now. So I worked in food analytics for 3 years, and then now, currently, I am a director of market research for a company called BGZ Brands. We make mobile accessories out here in Utah. So that's what I do by day. And then by nighttime, I also write on Medium in my spare time. I've only started recently writing on Medium about 3 or 4 months ago, and it's been super awesome for me in a really trying year. And so I'm going to leave my comments at the end of the session for you to follow any of my social media links. But most importantly, I'm a self-described pragmatist. Um, Some people call it cynicism. I call it realism. And the fact is that I've spent a career managing hundreds of people, and I know what it takes to set goals for yourself and for others as well. And I really wanted to share some of my insights, especially around retirement in this session. So just a few disclaimers. I am not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice. Despite the fact that this title is geared towards retirement, this is more about self-improvement and career advice. This advice, while applicable for everyone, is more relevant for people my age, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z. I do speak, live in America, and we do have American processes when it comes to retirement. So it does have American lingo. If you need me to clarify anything, just let me know in the chat as well. And then this really session is really about risk management or reducing risk. A lot of people say, oh, you're not worried about retirement. You're just living life, you only live one life, YOLO, or whatever. No, this is about doing what you can to protect your future and taking the steps necessary to get there. So we've been told that the traditional way of what you're supposed to do to save for retirement is, the earlier you'll save and the better off you'll be. And the reason why is that, the earlier you save, you can build up interest, let your 401k savings do the work. You maximize that stuff. You're supposed to buy a house, to build equity. In the United States, we have Social Security, which you can unlock at age 65. So you can use that as a fallback. You're told not to spend outside your means, and you're supposed to save 10 to 15% of your income for retirement. Now, if you do this, all of these steps, they say you'll be ready for retirement. But honestly, the situation as it is right now, it's probably not going to end up like that for many people. The reality is most Americans aren't anywhere close to achieving this goal. I don't know how it is in other countries, but many people are barely saving anything, if at all, in the United States. And this graph shows that 69% of Americans are saving less than 10% of their income. And 35% of Americans say they have no retirement savings at all. It's a very bleak situation in terms of a path towards good retirement. So why is it so hard to save for retirement? I'll go into the reasons why. We're in the midst of the second recession in 12 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This is the worst economic recession since the Great Depression in the 1930s. And it'll honestly take many, many years for the economies to recover. And debt, student loans are keeping many millennials and Gen Z down. The average millennial has $27,000 in personal debt, and student debt in the United States has ballooned to a record $1.5 trillion. Humans aren't really good at quantifying big numbers. We hear billion and trillions in the news, and we're just like, that's just another number. But 1.5 trillion is a lot. In fact, if you count one number for 1 second, it'll take you 31,000 years to count to 1 trillion. That's how big the student debt is in the United States. And for people who have the debt, it doesn't allow you the financial freedom to, have discretionary income or even save. There's rising costs of living, especially relative to previous generations. Millennials currently own 4% of real estate value in the US, but when baby boomers were their age years ago, they owned 32% of the country's real estate value. So there's a huge discrepancy between the wealth gap between the generations. And on top of that, we have reduced purchasing power nowadays. 78% of US workers live paycheck to paycheck. More than half of minimum wage workers really they have to work more jobs to pay the bills and whatnot. Despite the fact that we make more money now in terms of numbers, the purchasing power has barely improved relative to the cost of living. In fact, the average hourly rate today is the same as it was in 1978. We're just not keeping pace with inflation and costs in order to do what we need to do with our money compared to previous generations. And lastly, in the United States, we have Social Security, which you're eligible for at the age of 65. It's a government program that gives you money to help, with emergencies and your retirement and stuff like that. But currently, as we speak, Social Security is predicted to run out of funds in 2035. When that happens, the oldest millennial will be 55 by then, just 7 years shy allowed to receive Social Security. So a lot of these folks won't even be able to access if nothing changes with our government. So now that I'm done painting you a super bleak picture of your future, I want to tell you that there's actually hope for you. In fact, the earlier you start taking control of your life, the better control you can have of your future. So my inspiration for this kind of new thinking that I've had, it comes from my parents. My parents immigrated to the United States from Vietnam after the Vietnam War in the early 1980s. And they're really, really hard workers. I barely saw them as a child because I was raised by other people instead, babysitters and whatnot. And so they, went to work at 6 a.m. and came home at 8 p.m. every day to help bring home money and put a roof over our heads and whatnot. So they never got to live and enjoy themselves, but they were looking forward to retirement plans. Unfortunately, my mom was diagnosed with early Alzheimer's just a few years ago at the age of 55. And so she actually won't be able to experience life, a relaxing life at an older age. She spent her entire life working hard for us and not really reaping the benefits of it. And so this kind of changed my mindset about, what to do about our current situations and not taking things for granted. So today, I want to stress to you guys that I'm going to challenge the traditional view that we have to work hard so we can enjoy life later. I really think it's a baby boomer mentality, especially when Social Security was created in the 1930s. If you work hard right now, you work super hard, and you save and you penny pinch, you can get to enjoy life later. Well, honestly, like I said, like what happened to my mom, things happen health-wise. Maybe you lose your job, or maybe things outside of your control that happen to you, macroeconomics that happen to you that prevent you from saving money. And so I want to find or push towards a theory that we don't have to enjoy life later. You can still work hard now, but you can enjoy life hard now still. And here are some of the methods that I think we should partake in. Number one, you need to find a career you actually enjoy. The more purposeful your career is, the more fulfilling your career is, and the most importantly, the more you enjoy your job, the less likely you're going to want to retire. Like honestly, I hear lots of folks say, I had a client a couple of years ago. She had a countdown app on her phone that told her how many days she had left to retirement. And I asked her, like, why are you looking forward to retirement? She was like, oh, I hate my job. I just can't wait to get out of here. I've been working here 30 years. I'm done. And I asked myself, why? Why do you do that to yourself? Why do you work a job that you just legit hate so much and you can't wait to leave? I currently found a career that I enjoy immensely, and I really can't see myself leaving that anytime soon. Of course, I am young, and like I said, stuff does happen in your lifetime, but it just mitigates, your need to leave that job or leave your career when you're approaching retirement age. And so, lots of folks actually work past age 60. And I'll get into that in a second here. But the next piece of advice I wanted to give y'all is just continue working on yourself. Say you are in a job that you just don't like and you don't know how to get out of it. I was in retail for 5 years. I hated it. I worked 50 to 70 hours a week. I barely had time for myself, much less my family. I was working the holidays, every holiday. I was just feeling really lonely and unfulfilled. And so, unfortunately, when I was looking for other jobs, the only other jobs I could find was other retail store manager jobs. And I was like, I'm not doing retail again. And so I lacked the skills on my resume. So I taught myself data analysis skills in the evening hours. I signed up for free courses. I YouTube videos. I pushed myself to teach myself new skills to market myself better. And it paid off. I was able to apply to a job and enter the corporate world and do what I truly enjoy now. So, whether it's, writing, for example, or if you're good at art or you're good at woodworking. My wife, for example, is great at web development, but she's a good woodworker and she's continuing to develop those skills. You never know when those skills could come in handy. There's plenty of courses on Coursera, LinkedIn Learning, YouTube, General Assembly that you can access to help teach yourself new skills and you can put on your resume. Recently, I just hired somebody who got a degree for a data analyst job under my team. And he didn't have a degree in data analysis or anything like that, not statistics. He actually got a degree in, I think, radio journalism. And the reason why I hired him was because on his resume, he said he gave himself some certificates off Google Analytics. He taught himself Amazon Analytics, and that showed that he had a hungry drive to grow and teach himself new skills. That's what's most attractive to recruiters. I hate to say this, but honestly, most of you guys will be working as a senior. 20% of adults over the age of 65 were working or already working in 2019. And among 65 to 74-year-olds, the labor force is expected to hit 32% by 2020. In 20 years, it's going to be not surprising at all to see that number go up. But to be honest, it's not, all sad news. Many seniors work actually for not only for income, but because they actually enjoy it. Retirement can be lonely, especially if you worked a very productive, long, illustrious career. And working for seniors especially makes them feel more purposeful. And 1 in 5, a survey done by AARP, 1 in 5 seniors who say they work, they actually do it for the enjoyment fact. Dr. Anthony Fauci, our leading doctor on the fight against COVID in the United States, is 80 years old, and he's still working because he finds purpose in helping others through his career. And so I think there's that stigma is like, oh, you shouldn't work as a senior, you should enjoy yourself. But why? Like, if you actually enjoy doing your work and you enjoy what you do, why shouldn't you work as a senior? Especially with the technology nowadays where it can help take away physical labor. You can work from the comforts of your own home, get money that way, and not be so taxing on an individual that has more health problems and stuff like that. Participating in the gig economy is one of the biggest trends going on right now, especially with millennials. It's actually projected to hit $2.7 trillion, the market itself, by 2025, with half the US and the UK economy entering the gig economy. The gig economy is described as the labor market that consists of temporary flexible jobs. So like contracting work, freelance work, whether it's writing, construction, graphic design, web development, data analysis, consulting, all that stuff. If you have skills that are outside your current career, you should explore monetizing it. That way you can help diversify your income and help set up a bigger safety net for yourself. For example, even though my career is in data analytics, I just only recently taught myself that. I recently started to explore writing on Medium and bringing myself more discretionary income that way. And so I want to build a foundation to help protect myself, whether it's Social Security running out in 2035, or I run into a health problem, or maybe I get the same sickness that my mom has. They do say it's genetic. So I want to be able to bring in more income outside of my 9 to 5 job. And lastly, work hard anywhere. The internet, actually, this isn't lastly, I apologize. I think I have one more after this. The internet has allowed us to work anywhere in the world. And COVID-19 has forced companies to rethink what it takes to make productive employees, right? Companies, especially companies that are run by older generations, are like, oh, you got to come to the office. You're more productive that way. Well, COVID-19 kind of proved that wrong. It proved that a remote work environment is possible. That's why you see a lot of these, Silicon Valley companies pushing towards, a more flexible work environment. Come to the office whenever you can, work from home and whenever you want. And that is awesome for seniors, those who are more prone to health problems. It allows them to work from the comforts of their own home. And lastly, part of the reason why retirement is so hard is because of cost of living. Allowing yourself to work anywhere, you can choose an area where it has lower cost of living to help keep your expenses down as a senior. But all this stuff about hustling and working hard, you shouldn't forget to relax and rejuvenate. One of the biggest things I hear from older generations, like, oh, I just can't wait to go to Europe when I'm an older senior or whatever. That actually puzzles me because we should be experiencing the best of the world in our prime years, being able to do zip lining in Costa Rica or hiking a mountain in Europe or whatever. You can't do that stuff as easily as a senior. And so developing your financial portfolio and safety net now allows you to enjoy life more. Enjoying life and working hard shouldn't be a zero-sum game. It shouldn't be a scale. If you work harder, then you enjoy life less. If you enjoy life, then you don't work, as much. You can actually have both. You just have to be able to think about, make a plan, and what you're going to do about it. So my closing thoughts are, stop worrying. That's why I'm not worrying about retirement. Of course, there's a lot of stuff going on right now that could impact my retirement plans, my health, and whatnot. But what's the point of worrying, right? You can't achieve anything just fretting about it. Make a plan. You can control that worry by putting in factors to where you can control it, right? People feel more confident if they have control of the situation. And so the first step to that is accepting the realities of the situation, but asking yourself, what are you going to do about it? Make use of the resources you have available to you right now. We live in a time where a lot of that information is easily accessible. And then if you're currently working in a job that you're unfulfilled at, you're going to look forward for retirement. You're going to, there's no guarantee. So you need to start looking at what you're doing right now and building the skill sets you need to get yourself out of that career. That way you can enjoy working and living at the same time. All right, and so I'm going to drop my call to action in the chat for y'all to, follow, and I would love to hear any questions y'all have. Exactly, May. Can I have A or B? No, it's definitely, like I said, it's not a zero-sum game. You can have A and B. You can. You can totally have anything you want. You just have to work towards it. Um, Thank you, Jennifer, for your condolences about my mom. All right. Great. Yeah, and I want to make sure, like, I think, so I posted this article on Medium. It was one of my first successful articles, actually. And I actually got some people who commented on my article that were like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry about your mom, but you really need to like think about your retirement plans, and you shouldn't be so lackadaisical about it." And I don't think they understood the takeaway is that just because I'm not worried about retirement doesn't mean I'm not doing anything about it. You know, it's a different mindset. Like I said, there's no point in worrying about you can't control, and doing the stuff you need to do right now to protect your future for the inevitable. I have a friend who just got laid off. They've been working there in that job for 20 years, and now they're really put in a bad position financially. And those are the things you need to kind of plan for, because no matter what happens, you can't plan for that. But what you can plan is developing safety nets for you right now. You know, considering what's going on in the world and considering what's going on in the future, what could go on in the future. Um, you know, what you can do right now to help contain that chaos will help give you a lot of peace of mind. So Linda says, great presentation. She definitely, she resonates with a lot of what I just had to say. Oh, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be nice to be able to chill on a Florida golf course, huh? Especially when climate change will probably make those golf courses disappear. Well, do y'all have any more questions for me? I have a few more minutes that I can help answer any, but I do appreciate the time that you guys took out of your day to listen to me today. Thanks, Russ. I greatly appreciate it. Brandy, I have seen talks. She asks, "Do you think retirement age will change?" So we've been conditioned to think that retirement age, at least in the United States, is 65. I don't know what it is in other countries. Um, and frankly, I think that's a BS kind of, you know, age. I think retirement should be more flexible. It should be, you can retire at 30 if you want, or you can never retire. You know, it's about what's right for you and your family and your economic conditions and whatnot, and what you're doing to provide yourself a good, sustainable living. There have been talks about, the government in the U.S. changing the Social Security age to 67, to help, um, keep it from draining faster. And that kind of just proves that a lot of folks are going to continue working, later and later. It wouldn't surprise me that 5 years from now, the government could say, okay, Social Security is now going to be eligible at 70, right? So it just helps. It's like you see the forest for the trees, and you see that they're just going to keep delaying this stuff, right? And there's nothing you can do about it, right? And so what are you going to do right now to protect yourself? Great. Yeah, Justin, what does retirement look like? Yeah, exactly. I think I told a few friends like I'll enjoy semi-retirement probably. I can't really see myself never hustling, never working. I have a huge work ethic. I love to work. It makes me feel more useful, more purposeful. It feels like I'm contributing. And so I kind of see myself working part-time, if you will. Like I said, like I worked in the grocery world. where a lot of retirement folks or seniors actually applied as produce clerks or cashiers to help bring in money. But the problem is that those jobs can be taxing on the body, especially on a senior, if it's more of a blue collar job or more physical intensive job. And so I encourage everyone, especially considering the resources we have available to us right now with the internet, to figure out ways to diversify your income and bring home income. That way you don't have to use your body later in the years. Oh, hi, Laura. Laura is an employee of mine. She's my analyst. She says it's important to find a career we love. And hopefully, Laura, you found the career that you love under me. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. Thank you to the Coach Me group for putting this together. I had a wonderful time. Wishing you guys a happy new year and an awesome 2021.